The 10 most important things that we as leaders need to be doing to create a high performance culture that's sustainable, it's not going to burn people out. Big idea number 1, be results oriented. An important note here, before being action oriented.
We just are so in love with doing stuff and getting stuff done, and activity is our whole world most of the time. The struggle with that is that just like a fog, we can kind of get caught up in it and not see where we're headed, not see the direction that we designed all this activity to take us to. Before we even think about action, before we even think about measures, we really have to get crystal clear about the results that matter. And the most important place to do that, I think, for any company is in their vision and mission statements or purpose statements, but most particularly in the current strategic goals that are set.
Big idea number 2 is communicate goals clearly and not with weasel words.
Theodore Roosevelt said something about a weasel word being a word that is empty, like a weasel apparently sucks the contents out of eggs and leaves the egg looking like it's a real egg, but it's not a real egg, it's completely empty. And that's kind of the concept of what a weasel word is. We read them, we hear them everywhere, listen to politicians speak, and they'll just be flowing out with weasel words. Efficient, effective, productive, sustainable, enhanced, best practice, quality is a weasel word, engagement's a weasel word. They're words we use all the time, so we never really question them. Management speak is probably another phrase that's used to describe them. The problem with weasel words, particularly when they're in our vision statements, our mission statements, and our strategic goals, or any goal for that matter, is that they are like those empty eggs. On the surface, they look like they're complete and important and saying something of value. But when you start asking 5 different people what they think they mean, you get 7 different interpretations.
Big idea number 3, prioritize ruthlessly. The key to strategy is omission.
It's too easy to say that everything matters and everything's got to be made better and we can't take our eye off any ball. And, you know, we've got 12 strategic goals because 12 things really matter. Ironically, when you de-weasel 12 strategic goals, as we've just spoken about, you can end up with many more than 12.
Right.
So really, our strategies are too bloated very often. And if they are bloated, nothing's going to be improved.
Big idea number 4, which is cascade strategy by cause and effect, not mini-me.
There might be another goal, which is improve our speed of delivery. And so suddenly every team in the organization's got the little mini-me version of increase our speed of delivery. And again, it assumes that every single team in the company has to do things faster. The problem with that is it's not how organizations work. Again, it comes back to what we were talking about before, about the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So each part contributes differently and uniquely to the whole to make the whole better. There may be some teams, maybe the team that's involved in troubleshooting with customers, like solving problems that come up. The last thing they need to do is probably work faster right now because they've really got to spend the time to get the problem solved first time. Right. So a mini-me cascade doesn't work. Again, it fractures the organization and it does not lead to high performance.
Big idea number 5 is to use measurement for learning, not for judging.
We've got to get judgment out of measurement. Measurement is a tool in our hands and not a rod for our backs. So wherever we can encourage people to create their own measures and to use their own measures, as long as they're aligned to what's important for the company, that can shift that culture very, very quickly. Well, actually, it's not very, very quickly. It can shift it very, very definitely, but not very, very quickly, because that belief that measures are going to be used to judge is such a hard belief to uproot. It's got to be uprooted, though, because it's one of the biggest things in the way of high performance.
Big idea number 7 is only measure what you should, can, and will improve.
The should, can, and will test is a practical way to do that, to help with that ruthless prioritization. The idea is that we don't measure just because we can. We don't measure just because we have measured something. We don't measure just because they think we should be measuring it. We measure it because it's measuring something that we should improve, something that we can improve because it's within our circle of influence, and it's something that we will improve because we have resources and time ready to allocate to doing it. So if there is any result that can't satisfy that should, can, will test, it's not something that we should bother measuring right now because it's just going to be a distraction and a waste of time. Should we improve this? Yes. Can we do something to improve it? Yes. Will we allocate the resources and time to doing it? Yes. Then go right ahead and measure it. That will be a very important thing to measure and improve, and it will contribute more to achieving those strategic goals and strategic direction than almost anything else.
Big idea number 8, improve performance with fundamental fixes, not compensating for poor processes.
Compensating for an underperforming process is when we put in extra effort consistently every time to make it perform better. So it might be, let's throw more staff at this process because we want to get it done faster. So we just need more people. So we're paying for those more people every single month, forever, while ever that process remains important. But a fundamental fix is a different way of thinking about improvement. It's where we look at the process and we say, well, if it's taking so long, it's not because we don't have enough people to do it. It's probably because we've designed it badly. We haven't got it streamlined enough. We haven't really thought about the design of this work and what is the smoothest, fastest way to get it done and still have it produce the wonderful output that we want it to produce. A fundamental fix is a change to a process that we make once. And then from that point forward, the process just naturally performs better without having to throw extra money at it every single month to keep it going.
Big idea number 9 is to make decisions from patterns in data, not individual data points.
If I'm any kind of statistician or mathematician now, it's one that's more interested in the way that stats and maths helps us understand patterns. We can see patterns, can't we? You just walk in a pine forest and you recognize the pattern of a pine tree and all the pine trees next to it. There are certain things you can describe about it. But unfortunately, when humans look at data, the patterns don't show up quite so obviously. And there are times when people will force the data into a particular kind of visualization to make a particular pattern look obvious. It isn't actually the pattern. And people will do that deliberately, but there are plenty of people that don't do it deliberately and don't even realize they're doing it. Like most of the time, people will say to you, oh, I'm not a numbers person, or I was terrible at maths in school. And I know that that's true because I was great at maths in school. I was the only, probably the only girl in primary school in my school that did advanced maths. When I went to university, I was only one of 2 girls out of a class of 6 people who were doing maths at university level. It's not a popular subject. Not a lot of people resonate with it, and most people have a fear for it. So instead of saying we've got to analyze our data with much more statistical validity, it's much better to say, let's find ways to see the true patterns in our data that really tell us how is performance changing over time. Not just what performance looks like this month compared to last month. That's very rudimentary maths, and it's not giving us the insight that we need. The problem that I think is much bigger than this, oh, I don't like numbers, is that most people don't grasp this concept of variability or variation, natural variation. Certainly there is variation that is due to our control. And one of those is, we were talking before about changing the design of a process to make it perform better. That's one example of a variable that influences variation in our measure that we can have some control over. But there are environmental factors, what's happening in the business environment, what's happening in the global economy, those sorts of things can affect our performance measures without us being able to have any say in that. The thing is that when we look at our measure over time, we've got to make sure that we understand that there will be variation there, but we need a tool to help us discern the variation that's routine and that we can't really control from the variation that we can control.
Big idea number 10, make processes, not people, the focus of improvement actions.
I think this is one of the keys to a high performance culture that doesn't burn people out, is that we really need to put our faith in people a lot, as long as we're supporting them with the right tools, but put our faith in people to do the right thing, to change the processes of the organization so the organization can perform as well as it should, as well as we want it to. So make processes, not people, the focus of improvement actions is really saying, stop trying to fix your people, put faith in them, give them tools like a good, proper measurement approach and a clear, non-weaselly strategy, and let them just go crazy with finding the fundamental improvements that the processes need. That will be the rapid way to high performance.
We hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and opt in for notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. If you'd like to learn more about the speaker in this video, there's a link in the description below. Also, before you go, would you like access to a free, in-depth video training on how to dramatically improve employee engagement and retention? There's a link to that free training as well in the description below. Until next time, we wish you great success building a world-class team or organization that makes a positive impact in the lives of your team members.